Now, I want to speak on a very pertinent topic on the JAMB UTME exams. Now, my name is Udeze Chinadu Leonard, and I'm an academic staff of the University of Calabar and also a Commonwealth Scholar. So I want to address this particular set of audience because most times we keep talking about getting a scholarship abroad or getting a job, and we forget that one of the highest challenges that is facing Nigeria as a country, which some international bodies are beginning to perceive more in this administration, is that there is high rate of illiteracy in terms of people that are being discouraged from getting into the university, because at times some top government officials, even at the level of the presidency, could make comments like going to the university is not an assurance of getting a government job. And so people start peddling ideas like school is scam, or maybe even if you do music or Yahoo on the street, it could still be better than getting a certificate. Now, I'm not an advocate of such ideas, and at the same time I don't antagonize those that do some other things with their life. Now, but going straight to the point, I want to give 5 tips to any youth out there in Nigeria that is still battling with the issues of admission decisions and choices. Now, the first tip I'll look at is cultivating the habit of finishing your textbook. Now, some of us, when we were in the university, we had some books like the new school physics or the new school chemistry, or things like essential biology. So you find out that when you talk about finishing that textbook from beginning to end, some people may want to make you look as if you're a bookworm. No, that is not the impression. Go and ask any good student that for you to have the confidence to enter the exam hall and write that exam, you need to believe that even if the question comes from chapter 1, you will pass it. If it comes from the last chapter, you will still be able to do well. And that is the attitude of most successful candidates. So it's not something rare. So if in your own small social group they are making it look as if it's something so bizarre or something that is not achievable, you have to discard that kind of mentality, because even some youths finish their religious books within a short while. So if some people can, out of religion, finish things like Quran or Bible, how much more when you are having a serious career issue like passing your JAMB? You must think of finishing your textbook, because those are the principles that some of us tried and were able to pass JAMB even before we passed WAEC and entered university. So you have to discard that mentality that dusting that textbook from the beginning to end is a Herculean task. You just have to devise a strategy. You can, the same way people say finish the Bible in 1 year, you can calibrate a system and say, okay, to this week I'll read 1 chapter of this book, next week I'll read the next chapter, and like that. Before you know it, you should be able to finish it before the target date of the exams. Now, what is the next point? The next point is to practice your past questions. Now, this area cannot be overemphasized. We're not trying to say that the JAMB doesn't change questions, or that they don't know how to bring out some innovative questions. No. But we observe that even during my own time, I wrote JAMB in 2008, and as of then, when you solve the JAMB past question from 1978 up till the present date, you find out that you should be able to build that confidence to tackle any other question, because at most maybe the figures could be different, or at most maybe it could still be on the same topic but they have paraphrased it. But the fact that you are able to tackle those questions, spending your time on it, now the approach some of us took was, first write 1 to 50 on paper. Maybe there are 50 questions. Now solve it. Time yourself. I don't mean just solving carelessly. Some of my friends, junior friends I mentored, I trained them to say, time yourself. If that exam is going to be 1 hour on this subject, time yourself 1 hour. Then solve that question from 1 to 50. When you have finished solving it, mark yourself. After marking yourself, before you now go back and start checking answers and start checking solutions from the textbook, so that in that way you are disciplining yourself, because JAMB exam is not just about the knowledge, it's also a test of time management. So you find out that the amount of time, there is one particular past question I use, we call it one-time success. One-time success. Now, I'm not trying to market any particular brand, but I know that in the market there are several substandard past questions. Which, what I mean by that is that their questions could be correct, but their answers are not correct. So in order for some of us to deal with some of those issues, in the case where you are trying to mark yourself and even the answers can be proven wrong from textbooks, you go and purchase the original past questions. It's not every past question that is reliable. So I know some of those things still occur today, that the original ones could be more expensive though, but then try to get those ones, even if it means sparing the money you would have used to do Facebook and buy data bundle for a while. You can spare that money and buy a quality past question, and then target to finish from 1978 to 2021 if you are planning to write for 2022. It's possible. Now, the third factor is that the world is getting digital. So you must study everywhere you go. MTM will say everywhere you go, Abi. Now, but you have to apply some of this principle in your studies. When I wrote the GRE, one of the things I did was to put the vocabularies in my smartphone, because that smartphone has become one of the things you carry everywhere you go. So you may find yourself just in a long bus that will take you 2 hours before you get to your destination, or you are trapped in the traffic and you are so worried, oh, I'm having an exam coming forth, what do I do? You just open your smartphone, just like people are checking their WhatsApp status, checking their Facebook. You are just checking your exam questions, checking your vocabularies, checking everything you need to study at home. Not until you are no longer in that generation where you must be inside the library, or you must be in the comfort of your room, or you must be in the classroom before you can study. The world is going digital, and even international societies in the UK, in the United States, you find out that face-to-face learning is no longer the ultimate as of the present, because due to the pandemic, people are learning to seek for e-learning and virtual platforms. So it's possible that today the JAMB is now a computer-based test too. So you waiting until you find your textbook in the house before you can study effectively is not the real idea. So any device you find yourself with, be it a laptop, be it a desktop, be it a smartphone, make it a tool to study. These devices are very ubiquitous, so you can make them your friends instead of using them to just be posting on Facebook and social media. You can just defer those things for a while. If there is any social network we should use at all at that particular moment, maybe things like LinkedIn could help you, things like YouTube could help you to prepare for your exams. Now, the fourth one is to cultivate independence and shun the mentality of malpractice. I know our Nigerian society is also a society that gives a high penalty, attaches a high penalty to some of these issues. Now, they are not wrong, because even in the advanced world, they may encourage you to write online exams, but that doesn't mean that you can cheat and go scot-free. Now, if you cultivate the habit of independence, that means you enter the exam hall knowing fully well that you are ready. You are not leaning on your friend. You are not trying to plan to say, oh, we'll sit together. You are not thinking of something in your pocket, or something you hid somewhere in your smartphone, or somebody that will send questions to you while you are there, or somebody that will impersonate on your behalf. Some of those things are why people fail the more. I have a cousin that he wrote JAMB, he couldn't pass. At some point, he wrote SAT and passed SAT, and he went to the United States. Why? Because he first believed that it's about him writing that exams and doing well. So it's not just about JAMB. Maybe JAMB couldn't favor you, but some other thing could favor you. But the fundamental thing is first be ready to learn, be ready to write that exam without thinking that somebody trying to invigilate you is stigmatizing you. I know those things may even come with prison terms if you are caught, and it is the more reason why you shouldn't think that that is a wise option. Now, cultivating independence could mean that you could boldly tell your friends that even if they carry chips to the exam hall, they may not do better than the person that came with confidence. It's very practical. It happens most times. Now, the last factor I'll address is the choice of course. I know JAMB is an exams where you choose 4 subjects, and then in those 4 subjects you are being assessed. Now, you mustn't say, oh, I must study medicine, oh, I must study law, and you start battling. Like me, for instance, I was good at mathematics and I didn't do biology in JAMB. So that was because I believe I want a mathematical oriented program, and I applied for computer science. And some of my teachers were like, oh, why didn't you apply for medicine? Well, I don't want to study medicine. All of us mustn't study medicine, even though maybe you could say, oh, he was the best student but he didn't go for medicine. Now that is because you didn't put the reputation of the course ahead of your strength. You know your own weakness. That maybe if they give you calculation now, you can solve it, but if they give you one big voluminous textbook to be cramming some botanical names, you may not be very good at that. So at some point, going to the university, even if it is animal science or even if it is education faculty, you find yourself now is a starting point. There are several people I know today attended state universities, read some courses like geography. Before you know it, they got Commonwealth Scholarship, got PhD scholarship, and they went to advanced countries. Now, but some people could be at home saying, oh, if it's not law at the University of Lagos, or if it is not architecture at the University of Ibadan, I will not be able to go. Now, those things are limitation, and before you know it, your age will go very much against the calendar. Some universities like Stanford or Oxford may advertise for some scholarship and say, oh, if you are not under 25 with a first class degree, don't apply. That is because they know the candidates they are looking for, and if you have wasted some years at home, even if you emerge with that first class at 30, some schools may tell you, no, it's already late. So for that reason, don't sit back at home saying, oh, I must go and read physics, when you know that if they give you physics in JAMB, you may not score up to 280. So on the other hand, you are indirectly limiting yourself. So identify those subjects that you are good at, that you can always do without anybody trying to threaten you or limiting you. Now, what I mean by that is, in terms of choice of university, again, you may know that the universities in your own catchment area could be easy for you to get. Now, this is because some of us didn't choose to say, okay, if not Ibadan, I won't go to school. No. If you attend those smaller universities that you can even easily get, you may end up getting a first class and traveling out of the country, and that is what you enjoy at a very young age. So that is not to say that you shouldn't aim high, but aim higher with vision that what you need at the moment is to do well in that course wherever you find yourself. And then lastly, you may want to bring economic issues to cluster up your mind. Now, when I entered the university, I already had like 3 elder ones in school, and that means that family support wasn't sufficient. And then some of us resorted to saying, I must make a good CGPA and earn a scholarship. And yes, after the second year in university, I got the telecommunication scholarship and bought my first laptop without the family being a burden, me transferring that burden to my family. So the fact that you are excellent already makes some big organization to intervene in your education. Now, forget about some issues we find in government today. A government that will say you get something like crude oil, you export it out of the country, and the next thing you import it back, and you start probing the people you bought it from, that it's possible they have diluted it and it's now a fake oil. So why didn't you equip your own youths, and why didn't you now work on your own refinery to refine that oil? Why did you send it out in the first place? That's to show how far behind we have gotten. That I'm not there at the helm of affairs, but I can rightly see some of these things, that somebody that should sponsor refinery or even sponsor youth in the university or even sponsor the lecturers that are teaching will allow the educational system to derail and the refineries to dry up, and now start telling us that you are suspecting the oil you imported is fake. So I pray God will help us, and at this point I will stop.